You're soft, you slop. They calling me Pop. I'm ruling your bitch, riding around and beat up July.
My name is Joey BOD, and I am a fantasy guru and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. This right here is Big MG. He's a two-time fantasy champion, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, realest guys in the fantasy room. How you doing? What's up, man?
Little WWE.
God, I love it.
Little WWE intro there.
I love it so much. Season 2, Episode 3.
If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I got one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you.
S-A-W-F-T. Soft.
Alright, let's get back to football.
Fantasy season is upon us. I'm excited. You should be too, because we're going to crack eggs of knowledge all over everybody's head, starting today.
I hope they have a towel.
Nah, screw it. They don't need it. Just wipe yourselves up and get back out there. Play like a champion.
It's time. The time is now to start preparing. We're almost in July.
If you're not preparing now, consider yourself in last place.
Prepare for 2017.
Exactly right. Why don't you tell them about what we're going to go over today?
We're going to talk real short show. We're going to break this down into fantasy positions that we think are relevant.
Yes.
To fantasy, obviously.
Yeah, what we're going to do...
That made no sense, but you know what I mean.
We're going to go over the quarterbacks.
Top 5 fantasy quarterbacks.
Right.
We're going to do top 5 fantasy receivers. What I meant to say is we're not doing all the positions today.
Right. We're going to leave you on the edge, wanting more.
Cliffhanger.
Right, cliffhanger. Don't fall.
Like Sylvester Stallone.
We're going to catch you, and we're going to lead you to a fantasy championship starting today. We're going to go over the top 5 at quarterback, wide receiver, like Matt just mentioned, with a bonus. Sleeper and bust at each position. How about that?
I don't know why we're so nice to them.
They need to pay us. They need to pay us.
Or just subscribe.
Which is also beneficial.
Email. What's our email address?
It's mgandthebod@yahoo.com. Also follow us on Twitter at mgandthebod. And Facebook as well. Like us, share us, give us the heart.
Or
a sad face. And Instagram, mgandthebod
We're all
too.
over social media.
It's disgusting. I want you to start us off, Matt.
All right, top 5 fantasy quarterbacks, and this is strictly relevant to fantasy and the fantasy points that they can accumulate on your team.
Yes.
Number 1, I got to go Cam Newton.
Okay.
The guy had an unbelievable year last year without Kelvin Benjamin, so I can only imagine what the numbers that he's going to put up this year with Kelvin Benjamin. I don't particularly love him as a real-life quarterback.
Right.
But he is a damn good fantasy quarterback, and somebody who week in and week out will get you 20 to 30 points guaranteed.
45 total touchdowns when you include rushing. That is unbelievably impressive.
It's unbelievable.
Just under 4,000 yards passing last year. I think he can take the next step with Benjamin, as you mentioned, coming back. For me, my number 1 is Aaron Rodgers.
Homer.
Whatever, it is what it is. Facts are facts. Pass-happy offense, number 1 quarterback in the NFL. He gets Jordy back. A full complement of wide receivers. And if the line can stay healthy, more power to him.
I mean, I'm not going to knock Aaron Rodgers.
You can't.
But I think Cam's a better fantasy quarterback.
Okay, and listen, to each his own. If you grab either one, you're in good shape, right?
Listen, Aaron's on my list.
Of course he is.
Let's go to number 2.
Right. My number 2 is now Cam, for the reasons Matt's mentioned. It's hard to find that type of fantasy production in a dual threat quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over that much. 10 interceptions last year. If he could even bring that down to 7, 8, I mean, it makes a world of difference.
The year he had last year was eye-opening for me.
Right.
And again, I sound repetitive, but without his best wide receiver.
It's amazing.
My number 2 is Big Ben. I'm sorry, the guy does it year in and year out.
Okay.
Puts up fantasy points like no other. I almost put him 1. Especially with the best wide receiver in the league, which we will get to in a little bit. All they do is pass the ball. All they do is pass the ball in that offense. And Big Ben is the best at it. I really have nothing else to say about him, because his work on the field tells you that you should draft him very high.
I agree with that. Plus, he gets a healthy Le'Veon Bell back. He should be healthy as well. Big Ben, the little dump-offs for some of the fantasy productions, that helps him as well. I think Ben is a huge commodity. I think 4,500 yards, at least 38 touchdowns.
At least.
And if somehow he can keep
lowballing it.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fair prediction. I think that if he can keep his interceptions 10 or less, even better. But that's hard for him to do.
He does tend
to throw the ball so much.
Exactly. So it's kind of like I don't want to compare it to Brett Favre, but when you throw that many times,
Gunslinger.
And you
Gunslinger
force it, and he
mentality.
forces it,
Yes.
like Brett Favre used to force it. You're gonna have some interceptions. You know, you take the good with the bad, but the good vastly outweighs the bad.
Absolutely. And his ability to extend plays is tremendous.
Agreed.
It's huge
Guy
in
never goes down in the pocket.
Never. Continue.
My number 3 again. I have Aaron Rodgers number 3, so
Okay.
I'm not gonna harp on that. We touched that already. He's your number 1.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the best in the league.
And my number 3 is Ben Roethlisberger for everything Matt just mentioned.
We're pretty good.
Well, yeah, right now
Pretty
we're good. We have the top 3 the same. 4,
Andrew Luck.
1,000% agree.
People are gonna forget about this guy. Not forget about him, but
Make him fall.
I believe he's gonna fall in a lot of drafts, and I don't think it's warranted at all. The guy was hurt the entire year last year. He was hurt he played the entire year hurt. Okay, They addressed the offensive line a little bit in the draft.
They did.
He was the best quarterback. Well, not the best, but top 2-3 quarterbacks 2 years ago.
Yeah, before the injury.
You know.
I mean, remember, they have drafted the weapons for him. Dante Montecrief, Philip Dorsett. They had T.Y. Hilton. The tight ends, Dwayne Allen.
He's got the pieces there.
Oh, absolutely.
Indianapolis needs to keep him upright.
Exactly.
That's what
but
they
here's
need.
why Andrew Luck is the top 5 fantasy quarterback this year. Because their defense is so bad.
So bad.
You have to remember that. They're going to be playing from behind. They could still win the division. So I think it's a bad division with the Titans, the Texans, and the Jaguars in there with the Colts. But Andrew Luck is going to be slinging the ball on average, I'd say 38 to 42 times a game.
Well, exactly. You know, you just touched on it. We're not drafting fantasy quarterbacks for their wins.
Right.
We're drafting it, and if they have a bad defense, it only helps us out.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Number 5. Let's round it off here.
Yeah. I got Russell Wilson here.
I can't really argue with that.
Russell Wilson does not turn the ball over. He's a dual threat quarterback. Granted, he only had, I believe it was 1 rushing touchdown last year, but he doesn't turn the ball over. He makes every big throw when it's needed the most. I could see him taking another big step this year, especially if Jimmy Graham is healthy, because remember, Jimmy Graham wasn't there all last year a lot.
Mentally or physically.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I could totally see 4,400 yards for this kid.
I can't argue with you, number 5.
Yeah.
It was tough. I wanted to put like 2 or 3 guys in this number 5 spot. I ultimately settled on Eli Manning.
Okay.
And I settled on Eli Manning strictly because I think McAdoo, as a head coach now, is going to just improve that offense. I mean, I know obviously he was the offensive coordinator, but I think he's going to implement more of his scheme and more of his football knowledge into that offense. And the weapons that they have, Odell Beckham, if Antonio Brown's 1, Odell Beckham's 1A.
Okay.
And Sterling Shepard I think is going to take a nice rookie leap forward. I think he's going to be a fantasy relevance. And again, they did improve their defense vastly.
$100 million worth.
They improved their defense a lot, but let's see how much, because I still think they're going to throw the ball a lot.
Okay. Also,
They have no running back.
If Victor Cruz comes back, that helps as well. Maybe potentially Arian Foster ends up there.
I mean, how many running backs?
Can't bank on that. I think they have 3 right now that are all mediocre.
They're all mediocre. So Eli's going to throw the ball 40 times a game.
It's a Ben McAdoo offense, as you mentioned. So we just gave you 6 quarterbacks to go in the top 5. It's what we do for you. But here's the most important part we're going to tell you. Let's tell them the sleepers.
Okay, my sleeper, and you might call me a homer on this one.
Probably.
I got to go.
Homer!
Tyrod Taylor. Listen, you guys can make fun of me all you want, and I'm not saying he's going to be the best quarterback in the league, but in a small sample size of last year, he did pretty damn friggin' well. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had 20 touchdown passes, only 6 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns. The guy threw for 3,500 yards. He threw for like 3,100 yards last year, which isn't great. I understand that, but I think he's going to take a step forward because he is working for a contract. Now the Bills don't want to give him that contract because they don't want to get Ryan Fitzpatrick again, because they gave him the big money and then he sucked. But I really think that Tyrod Taylor could go in the 7th to 8th round, in the 7th or 8th round, and I think he might be a starter, fantasy-wise. I might be a starter and a stud for a lot of fantasy teams.
Do you think that he could end up as a top 10 fantasy quarterback?
Yes, I do.
Do?
Yes, I do. I don't listen. He missed.
So he's more than a bye-week filler for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
In a 12-team league or a 10-team league, I believe he should be starting on a fantasy team.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. Okay.
Probably more of a 12-team league.
Okay.
But 10-team is borderline for me. But I think the guy has the talent, and I think he has the determination. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's Cam Newton 2.0.
Okay.
Obviously, nowhere near the size of Cam Newton, but
No, I know what you mean.
But
You're right.
running and passing wise, the guy has a good arm. He really
The
does.
system does scare me.
It does scare me too because Rex likes to run the ball.
They run it.
So I agree with you. It does scare me. But he went 8-6 as a starter. Missed 2 games due to injury. He was efficient for me.
Okay.
As a Bills fan who watches every game, he was efficient for me. I think he should be a top 12 starter in a fantasy league.
That's why we do this, to give them extra knowledge. My sleeper is Marcus Mariota.
Love it.
I mentioned
Absolutely
it
love
earlier in one of the other shows, Tajay Sharp. They have Dorial Green-Beckham. They have 2 what should be very good running backs with a pretty good line that's up and coming with Taylor Lewan, and they got Jonathan Cooper there. I'm sorry, Chance Warmack, rather. Marcus Mariota is another dual-threat quarterback, and he's smart. He could have. He's one of the guys I think that can have a double bonus.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
100 yards
Absolutely.
rushing, 300 yards passing in the same.
He showed flashes of that last year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think his longest touchdown was 76 yards or something like that.
We can't run 76 yards.
I would die.
I would die at 7.6 yards.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need the resuscitation, the whole 9
And-
ambulance. Woo, here comes the meat wagon. And it's over. But another reason why I think he can excel is because I still don't. The teams in the division that he plays against, they're not proven to me. I think that the Texans, albeit a good defense, they're just not
Great
there.
defense.
They're just not there for me. They're not that next level type of team. The Colts aren't there. The Jags are getting there. The Jags can be a surprise team, but Marcus Mariota can rip up a defense, I think, with his legs and his arm.
I do not disagree with you.
Who's your bust?
One bit. Kirk Cousins. I really don't have much to say about
Plain
him.
and simple. Why?
Because he's just not going to do what he did last year.
Even in a contract, yeah.
Yeah, he's just not going. He's just not that good of a quarterback. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick to me. He's a great backup to have. He had a great year last year.
Took his team to the playoffs.
Listen to me, he had a great year last year. I'm not knocking Kurt. If you watch, I'm not knocking you, man. I actually wanted the Bills to draft him a few years ago, but he obviously
Things didn't work
things
out.
didn't work
well.
out.
Right.
I just do not think he's going to put up the production that he did last year. I think he'll be all right. He'll be a mediocre quarterback. Nothing to draft in fantasy.
Hypothetical situation comes down to the draft. You could draft Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor. You're taking Tyrod
It's
Taylor.
not even close.
Really?
It's
I'm
not
shocked.
It's not even close.
I have to disagree with you.
Well, that's why I have 2 fantasy championships and you have none.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, but my fantasy knowledge far exceeds yours.
Well, listen.
Even if Vice qualifies,
I have the hardware.
Yeah.
I have the hardware.
I have hardware too. It's just in my shelves in my kitchen. My bust is Joe Flacco, not because I don't like him.
You don't like him.
No, I do.
You don't, Joe. He
do.
doesn't like you, Joe.
We have the same name. You're Italian. How can I not like him? It's a great name.
Well, because he's tall, good-looking, and a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He's tall. He's moderately attractive. And who's to say I couldn't get a tryout and start? You know, it only takes one GM. That's what they said in there. It only takes one. But no, it's Rashad Perriman is hurt again. It's sickening. Steve Smith is going to be 102 this year, and Mike Wallace hasn't been good since the Super Bowl year for the Steelers.
I will say this.
The guy's not good.
I agree with you, but I will say this: if there's any quarterback in the league that suits Mike Wallace's one-dimensional route,
It's
it is
Joe Flacco. Right.
Okay.
But can Mike Wallace, as he gets older, can he have that burst of speed still? Speed.
No, I agree.
Speed
I don't really agree with
deteriorates.
you. I don't really like Flacco either. I
don't
think
see it.
Listen, Flacco, he won the Super Bowl that one year, and he had one of the best playoffs I've ever seen.
Yeah, insane.
He really did have one of the best playoffs I've ever
Easily.
seen. But I just, he just doesn't do it for me.
All right, so we agree.
Let's go to wide receivers.
Let's do it.
Let's just skip over number 1.
It's so dumb to do
All right,
this.
Antonio Brown is number 1. If you have the first pick in your draft and you are in a PPR league and you don't draft Antonio Brown, email us. Me and Joe will come over to your house and slap you in the face.
I'll kick you in the nuts.
Because Antonio Brown should be your number 1 pick overall. I don't care if you're in a PPR league. If you're not, then I can understand maybe Adrian Peterson. I can understand that. But if you're in a PPR league, this guy gets you 120 points off the bat.
Fantasy players, if you
that.
actually do, yes, if you do actually have somebody in your league who doesn't draft Antonio Brown first in a PPR league, please email us, because we will rip that person apart. If you want to laugh, that's why we do this too.
It is.
We will rip you apart. That's
wait.
embarrassing.
Yeah, he's the best.
That's embarrassing.
He's the best. I mean, how many years in a row does he need to do?
Oh God, it's so irritating.
Let's go to number 2. Which
Do
number
it.
2 I think is an easy one too.
Who do you have?
I have Odell Beckham.
Okay, I don't have Odell Beckham.
Okay, maybe it's not that easy.
No, it's not. I guess not.
I mean, the guy's a freak. He's a freak of nature. If he could keep his head on his shoulders, meaning not do that whole, who was that?
Josh Norman.
Yeah, the whole Josh Norman thing. Like you cannot.
That was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. You can't hurt your team like that. If he could keep his head in the game and on football and running routes and catching the ball, to me, he's the easy number 2. He really is.
For all the ifs you just mentioned is why I have Julio Jones as 2. Again, this is a guy on a team that has no defense. They'll be playing from behind. People forget, quietly, he had the same amount of receptions as Antonio Brown at 136. He's the, again, and this may hurt him, but I think there's a guy on the Falcons that can play that Harry Douglas / Roddy White type role.
Let's say it on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Justin Hardy.
I love this
kid. And that
kid.
is in sync.
I love, he went to East
Not the
Carolina. No.
God, I'm sorry.
No, I love
You're
that.
on a roll there, bro. You're on a roll.
Phenomenal layup.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
I just think that he's a red zone threat. He's an intermediate threat. He's a deep field threat. It doesn't matter. His leaping ability is through the roof. His ankle is no problem anymore like it was 2 years ago. Julio Jones is a surefire lock for me.
Listen, I'm going to go to number 3 because I have Julio Jones at number 3.
And I have 3 at Odell Beckham.
Okay, so we flip-flop 2 and 3. I agree with everything you just said on Julio Jones, except he slowed down for me at the end of the year. I mean, he started the year off, he was on pace for like 495 catches.
Yeah, that was accurate.
It was,
that was accurate
you know, and again, I guess he had to cool off because...
I mean, that's sports.
He had to cool off
That's
because
sports.
it's regression to the means. But I agree. That's for you, Anthony.
Yeah, you just have to laugh sometimes.
I agree that Julio Jones is a beast. He's an absolute beast, and he should be a first-round pick.
Agreed. You want to go right to 4?
Let's go to 4.
What do you got at 4?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Agreed.
Simply because of the targets that he got, and I understand that he has a new quarterback in place this year, but let me tell you, Bill O'Brien's going to sling it.
No doubt.
With Osweiler.
No doubt.
They're going to sling the ball with Brock.
Yeah, if you think Lamar Miller was brought in there to run the ball 20 times a game, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
I think Lamar Miller will be good, but that's a pass-first team.
That's a pass-first team.
Okay, it's a passing league, and Bill O'Brien knows that.
I agree.
Okay? They got Jalen Strong, Will Fuller. The great part about what they did there is Jalen Strong at Arizona State could stretch the field and do those little bit deeper post routes. Will Fuller is essentially a one-trick pony, like Mike Wallace. Run straight, young man. That's what his... Will Fuller's 2.0 of Mike Wallace.
I agree.
But then you have DeAndre Hopkins. The button routes, the stop routes, the quick 3-yard plays.
Well, he's a complete receiver.
I mean, is it so far out of the realm of possibility that every game he could catch at least 8 balls for 70 yards?
Well, yeah.
That's 15 points right there. He
Listen
does
to me.
that.
Listen to me. That is. I think you're lowballing it. The guy gets. No. This is not exaggeration. The guy got like 20 targets a game.
That's.
I remember a couple games watching. I'm going against DeAndre Hopkins in fantasy, and he's got like 22 targets. Even if he catches half of those, that's 11 points.
Yeah.
Per reception.
Yeah, right there.
Plus the yards, and plus probably he's going to get in the end zone too.
Absolutely.
The guy's unbelievable. DeAndre Hopkins is unbelievable.
5 is interesting.
5 was another one because it's tough when we cut this down and we always say 5 because there's 3 guys I want to put here.
Absolutely.
I ultimately settled on AJ Green because the guy does it every year.
Okay.
I understand he's a little bit injury prone. I understand that, but the guy is a solid wide receiver that does it every year. Also plays with Andy Dalton, who is a pretty damn good quarterback. Not in the playoffs, though.
The reason I didn't put AJ Green here is because of the supporting cast around him. You're talking about Brandon LaFell, Brandon Tate, and Tyler Boyd. If you're a coach of the opposing team, you never let the other player on the opposite team.
I would put 5 guys on AJ Green.
You'd have to. You'd have to. That's
a good point. Listen,
he's top 10. For me, he's not top 5. Only for that reason. It's not a capability question or to say how good he is. It's just the surrounding element. That's it.
It's a good point that you made.
The other one you may want to put there is Dez Bryant. Now, I didn't. I know Matt didn't, obviously.
He was one
I will never put Dez there because I think he's one of the most selfish players in the NFL, and you cannot rely on Tony Romo's health. Okay? People are going to take him, and you could argue why you
can't rely on his health either.
And that's right. And I understand that Dez is a dynamic talent, but health for him, health for Romo, and they draft Ezekiel Elliott to take pressure off of Romo. They're going to run the ball a lot more.
Yeah. I agree.
So
I wanted to put Dez there, but
I can't do it. Plus, I hate the Cowboys. That's just the truth. I despise the Cowboys.
I don't like the Cowboys either.
But my number 5 is Homer. Jordy Nelson.
I didn't even play last year.
Doesn't matter. We're in modern medicine. The guy was running routes in January. Okay, dynamic talent, dynamic quarterback, dynamic wide receivers around him, and you got 3. And this, to me, this does play a role. I don't know how you guys feel at home, but they have 3 offensive linemen that are going to be free agents next year. Every guy in this league that when you're in a contract year somehow plays better.
Well, that's
sports.
That's a very valid point.
That's sports.
It's a very valid
so,
point.
Jordy Nelson bounced back year at 31 years old, coming off the ACL. I think he returns to form. I could think because of the offense, you may think the receptions is low, but not like the other guys that we mentioned earlier. I think 85 receptions, 1350 yards, and 11 touchdowns is almost a lock.
Well, I will say that I am a tremendous Jordy Nelson fan.
That's good.
I do love Jordy Nelson. I couldn't put him here, and I wanted to put him here. He was one of the guys I wanted to put
here. Of course.
I couldn't put him here because he's coming off that injury, and not that I don't think he's healthy, because I do, like you said, modern medicine. You guys been running routes. He's been at OTA. He's been at practice or whatever. I just don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. He's coming off that injury.
It is a question.
He could very well be there. But if AJ Green is available for me and Jordy Nelson's available for me, I'm going AJ Green.
Okay, and
you're going Jordy Nelson.
Yes,
okay.
I'd have to.
Give me a sleeper.
This is the tie for me, and I'm sorry I couldn't make up my mind, but I put Chris Hogan of the New England Patriots and
formerly of
the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, and he was good for us.
He was. And Tyler Lockett. Now, the reason I put Chris Hogan, 6'1" with speed, you have to think that teams are going to try to shade towards Gronk and Julian Edelman. If he gets one-on-one coverage down the sideline, Chris Hogan can be a dynamic player. I'm not saying he's going to catch 80 balls.
He's a pretty good wide receiver.
But he could have 8 touchdowns, 60 catches, and maybe 1,000 yards. Is that crazy?
No, he could be a wide receiver 3 on
absolutely.
A lot of teams. Back end,
play,
he could be,
bye-week filler, absolutely. And the other one
I think he's more than, he could be, with Tom Brady, I think he's more than a bye-week filler.
Tyler Lockett is my other one. Sure-handed. If you're in a special teams league, he does that too. And he's a starting wide receiver. And there's no more Jermaine Kearse, and there's no more relying on Jimmy Graham so much. We have to see how he bounces back from his injury, which is way more significant than Jordy Nelson's. Tyler Lockett is a do-it-all wide receiver.
I agree.
Not to mention, you can line him up in the backfield.
Please don't touch me again.
I couldn't help it.
Okay.
You just look that good in your tank top and your hat.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I agree with you on Tyler Lockett. Well, Joe, I stuck to the rules and I picked one.
Right.
Okay, you picked.
Well, you like to live dangerously.
You picked 2, but my sleeper is, and again, this is a deep sleeper. My sleeper is Philip Dorsett. The guy went number 29 overall, I think.
Yeah.
In the first round, which shocked everybody because they
didn't need a wide receiver.
They should have drafted an offensive lineman. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I think Philip Dorsett takes a leap forward this year. They got T.Y. Hilton there. They got Moncrief. They need a slot guy.
Yeah.
They need a slot guy to fill in, and who better to pass to him than Andrew Luck, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think he has to take that step forward. Well, otherwise he's not going to be there anymore.
Right.
But they saw something in him to take him in the first round. I think fantasy-wise, he could be a wide receiver 3 in a lot of leagues, maybe a flex, a bye week fill-in. I wouldn't take him before round 10. I wouldn't take him.
Okay.
I think he's a late guy.
That's why he's a sleeper.
He's a late guy to take that I think could pay dividends.
Perfect.
Bust.
1, 2, 3.
Demaryius Thomas. And we love you, Demaryius.
So much. But you
have Mark
dropped
Sanchez
too many balls, and you have Mark Sanchez. I don't know. Maybe Peyton Manning was throwing the ball too soft. At least he was smart, though. Now you have Mark Sanchez going to be trying to force feed you the ball. Every team in the league is going to know that. I don't see him having a good year. Now,
he's still going to have a good year. He's just not in this
upper echelon category this year,
which he always has been.
Right. But that's not to say that if he's there in the 3rd round or even the 4th round, you have to take him.
I think if he falls past the 3rd, you have to take him.
Okay, at least we agree there.
But this is coming from somebody who went in the first round last year.
Yeah. And the year before that.
And the year before that. So we maybe we won't label him a bust. We'll label him an avoid.
Oh, fair.
Avoid him.
Yeah.
Unless he falls into your lap.
Right. Agreed.
But Demaryius Thomas scares me. I agree.
Agreed. Okay.
Is that it? What are we doing next week?
Well, we're going to do
2 weeks. Whenever we come back to you, we're going to do running backs, tight ends, and defenses. We'll do
perfect. We'll knock it out of the ballpark for these people.
These people love us.
How could they not? Look at us. We're Adonises. Jesus. Listen, follow us on all of our social media outlets, and as always, you guys have to know this by now. We definitely don't know everything.
However,
we definitely know more than you.
See you next time, folks.